So, what did you guys think of Curse Shop?
You got your little.
Yeah, I have my notes here. Actually, no notes.
Did you actually take notes?
No, I'm just seeing if it inspires anything.
I really want to watch it again because I feel like I was so overwhelmed when I watched it for that first time.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many notes and so many like comments, but I want to watch it again to like firm some of those up.
Yeah.
Do you guys like it? We'll just start with that question. Like it or no?
I liked it.
Out of it,
I liked it.
yeah.
Jen?
Yeah, but how are you gonna rank it?
Out of yeah, we'll just do if we
Zero.
liked it
That's
now.
your
At the
favorite.
But this
very
is just
end, we're
to
gonna
do.
rank it
Positive,
0 out of
negative,
10.
good, bad.
I
thought
liked it.
0
Yeah,
out of
nice.
10.
John,
But do
did
that
you
at the
like
end.
it?
Oh, okay.
We'll like give it a numerical ranking at the end.
I don't think I really knew what to expect. Like I didn't really
Yeah. I think-
do much Googling before,
Mhm.
but
Didn't
it was
research?
good. No, I didn't. I was just like, I'm gonna have a good time. That's it.
Me
But
too.
I liked it.
Yeah, for that reason, I think I liked it more because I had some expectations of what it was going to be. So maybe I went in with low expectations thinking it was going to like break canon. And then it just
Yeah.
exceeded all my expectations.
Whoa.
Even on some of the things that they say they broke canon on, I still like in my head came up with explainers for all of it.
Mhm.
And then I talked to people in the
Mhm.
Discord. They're like, yeah, you kind of could come up with those explainers. So I don't know. Yeah.
I thought, yeah. I didn't know what to expect either, which is probably the best thing going into these types of
Mhm.
things.
Yep.
And then I thought it was a musical.
It just
So
brought
when
it.
they-
You
I
just
thought they were
think
gonna
musical.
sing. At
And
some
so when
point.
they didn't sing when you feel like they
Yep.
should, I was like, huh.
They're about to break into song, and then nothing. You're like, wait,
It was
oh,
funny
okay.
because going in, I knew it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to be a musical. And then the first scene, they're like getting the baggage, the
train,
luggage on
yeah.
the train, and they're
And
all
they're-
like dancing and doing a routine. I'm like,
Yep.
any second now, Ron's
I
going to
know.
come out and break into song.
Yeah, but they
and when he
didn't.
I was so
It
confused. I was like,
so
wait,
weird,
what's going
'cause they're
on?
dancing.
Yeah.
And they're moving like you should be singing.
Yeah. That was funny. I feel like it was, you were saying it was funny how they kept doing these unnecessary things where everyone comes out and dances or they're
Yeah.
spinning stairs around for what feels
Well, that
like
stairs was a
too long.
long time.
It
But-
took me till intermission to realize those stairs were the
I can't believe
Right,
it took you that
exactly.
long. I just was like, when
I
is
was
this
like-
scene over?
cool stairs. I don't know.
Yeah. But they also kept using the suitcases as like props.
Yeah.
So you didn't know
Yeah.
when it was just part of the dancing. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, oh, now we're on the train. But then I thought it was cool once you like pick up on it. And they had so many awesome effects. It was like a magic show, you know, which is kind of what you want out of Harry
Yeah.
Potter, right? So I thought all of that was so cool.
That was probably one of my favorite parts. Was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
effects that they did, how they did some of the magic. I was just dumbfounded for like how they did that practically.
Mhm.
I thought that was great.
Even one of the very first things they did with, I think it was on Hermione's desk. They like did the thing and all the
pages.
papers just. I
Yeah,
like,
that was
"Oh,
excellent."
They do that. That was so
Yep.
cool. And then they had the one magic scene where they were like
That was
battling, and then we talked about the ping pong scene. That old video about how they were playing ping pong, and there was like a black screen behind, and that was like pretty good. I think
It was
they did
great
that
because I
great.
literally thought they were on wires
Yeah.
for the first few moves.
Yeah.
But then I was like, this isn't, what's
Wait,
going
what
on?
are you talking about?
It was like
Draco
a
and Harry
scene-
have the battle, and then like it was half of the stage was dark.
Yeah.
And there were people like behind them, and they were like lifting him up and moving him. So it looked like
You
kind of
thought it was
slow
wires
motion.
until right
Yeah.
now. Nice. So it was a good effect. But they just had people dressed in black behind them to like jump around with them.
because we got a view of like behind the scenes sometimes, but most of the
Because we
time
were like
we
above,
didn't.
you could kind of see certain things. But it was, I just thought it was really cool. It left you like wondering so many times, how'd they do that?
Yeah.
Wait, what in the world? It was great. And maybe that's part of why there was so much like dancing that felt a little out of place. They had to do a lot of things where they were setting up for the next
Yeah.
scene or the magic or costume swaps, because that's something I didn't really think about much. But then as you're watching it, you're like, oh yeah, with time travel, like you're having different people play different roles at different times and jumping around, and
Especially,
it must
I
have
was
been
thinking about that
logistically
during the time when
crazy.
Draco was wet. Like he had to go into that water. And
Yeah,
then come out,
yeah,
and, like
yeah.
he was in like a scene like a few minutes later. Probably had to get completely dry, and then he went back in, and then it was like all over the place.
Yeah, you're right. I
That
forgot
was-
about that. He had to do
That was actually
again.
a cool scene when they were swimming underwater, but they
Yeah.
were flying on the stage.
It was really
And
cool.
That was, and
They
then
did that
they're
well.
in the water at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
They like pop
Yep.
out on the bottom of the stage. in a tank.
And I guess it's just known that this is spoilers for anyone who is here. We're just gonna embrace
Too
it.
late.
But like they kept doing the
We're
time
not
travel,
saying anything.
and then everything was rippling, like when it was
That
going back in
was
time.
crazy.
Such a
that
cool
was
effect.
Such a cool
Like lighting or whatever they
effect,
were
yeah.
doing, it made it actually look
And
like
the
the
sound,
space was warping.
like
I
we
was
were
like,
moving.
oh,
Every
how
time
they're
they used
doing
a time
this.
turner, it was
That
I was
was
like
so
excited every time they
cool.
used it.
Yep.
Because it really is. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it was like the stage pulses. It feels like you're part of it too. It was so cool.
And then they interact with the audience some parts.
Mhm.
Well, not like interact, but they
But
come
Dementors
into
come
Yeah.
and try
Yeah.
and kiss
The
people.
Dementors
So.
were
Dementors. I
terrifying.
love the Dementors.
So
That
was
was
so
really
good.
good.
Even like that wasn't like the magical effects, but they looked so
Yeah.
good and
Yes.
so creepy. Like the people whoever made the
Yeah.
costumes and the design for that
Mhm.
kind of stuff they were top notch. It looked phenomenal.
The only thing I didn't like was the beginning. I felt like it was so rushed. But then
I'm with
someone
you.
said that it was like it used to be really long. You said that it used to be really
What
long.
I said
so
is
maybe
it
they
used to be
condensed
2
it. I don't know.
days, and I didn't know if when they changed it from 2 days, my understanding is
the
correct.
London one
'cause
is still 2 days.
it is. So you go one day and you come back the next
think
night
so,
to
yeah.
see part 2. So is it a longer show or is it the same show just split?
Yeah, I'm
Because
curious
that's
about
where I
that.
was like, maybe it felt a little rushed because they had to cut a few scenes out, or they just shortened scenes. But I also felt like we just had to it was a little bit of catch up. Like they don't have a whole first and second movie to warm you up to the characters. You just have to be like, get on board. These are the characters, and
I
this is how
just
they
didn't
became
like the way
friends.
they introduced some of the people. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, it did
Yeah.
feel quick.
But I
'Cause-
thought it was great overall. And the second act was really good, but I
Yeah.
just was like,
The
it's like
first
a
20 minutes,
lot.
and they rushed through like his first 3 years at Hogwarts to get to his fourth.
Yep.
I was
Oh,
like, I
that's
get why
also
they're doing
true.
all this stuff because they have to get to a certain point, but like everything was almost coming at you too fast. Whereas I feel like I didn't have the established characters that much. But yeah. Yeah. What was your guys? We'll go over like kind of just what were your favorite parts and what were your biggest, least favorite or biggest gripes about it. So we'll talk about that first before we hit on any of the positives. What were the negative things that you guys didn't like in it? You liked it all?
No. I feel like some of the acting was a little like cheesy.
Yeah.
And like some of the characters, I just don't know if they like like a character growth or whatever you guys in book club use.
Like a character arc.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Look at you. Book club words.
Some of the character arcs.
Although
I will say the one character that I did love was Ginny. I feel
She
like
got
she
her
actually
sass
had
back.
fire and had
Yeah.
sass and like was actually
she was
maybe
a hot
not
tamale
like
again.
the Ginny that we picture in the books, but a heck of a lot better than movie Ginny.
Yep. Agreed.
Like she was a little fiery. She like fought Harry on certain things.
But she was still playful and fun, likable. Yeah, good balance.
I love Scorpius. He was to me one of the most fascinating characters in the whole thing.
So true.
I thought he was great.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like his character was interesting. I liked the what was it? His comedic like
yeah.
Great comedic timing. Yeah.
yeah, that's what it was.
And it was enough of that sarcasm and everything. Well, that's part of the weird thing about Broadway. It is theatrical by nature, and I don't always love that, but I think it worked well with some of his lines where they wouldn't really translate to a movie necessarily because it feels like some of the lines are so much for the audience. I know it sounds
Yeah.
dumb to say, but it's like they are laugh lines, where in a movie you don't have that pause
Yep.
to let people laugh, but in the show, something about it, I feel like it made for a great show. I don't know how it would be in a movie. And it took a little adjusting, but once I was into it, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm back into theater mode. This is fun. I'm okay with this.
You definitely have to get in theater mode when you go like watch it. It's not like a movie you're watching. So I think a lot of fans might be disappointed for that reason. But as far as like just the show is concerned, I thought it was really like pretty good.
Yeah.
The biggest gripes that fans have with it, and I want to talk about these things with you, is one of the biggest ones is they say they mischaracterize Harry in the whole play. And there's one line where they hate, most fans, even in Discord,
Oh.
were talking about it, where Harry yells back at his son, and he's like, "Sometimes I wish I never had a son,
Oh.
or sometimes I never wish I had you as my son."
Mm-hmm.
According to how you know Harry in all 7 books, do you think that he would say that or not? Because that's where the debate is.
I'm trying to think back to what things he said to Ron when they were fighting.
Yep.
And I don't think any of it was to that level. And I have to think Harry
but
would
he's a
grow
dad
more
now.
mature.
Mm.
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
Like you can lose your temper.
Oh, you're saying it like that. Okay.
No,
Negative,
no,
yeah.
I agree with what everyone's saying. Like, I don't see that as his character, but then I think of parents when you're like,
Yeah.
you're just so fed up and you're overwhelmed
Mhm.
that you just say something and then you're like, oh my gosh, I said that out loud.
I think the same. I think like everybody, and they talk about another character with this, but I think every character is kind of capable of a break at some point. Where like Harry's probably been so exasperated by his son, so all of a sudden this comes out in just a moment of fury, and we've seen that in Harry before. He's had
We have.
moments where he's been really
That's
frustrated
true,
and
yeah.
distraught by people who have done. I don't know if he would literally say something as hurtful as that. Because he never even said that to Ron, like, "I wish you were never my friend" or something like
Right,
that. So he's
right.
not so. I don't think Harry's so dramatic. I
Yep.
think he would say something a bit more. Like, it might hurt, but it wouldn't be quite as painful.
And I feel like if he was going to say something that out of character, I feel like we need to be led into it better
Yeah, for
to
sure.
understand why, what brought him there. Nothing that I saw felt worthy of breaking his character to that level. So then it did feel a little out of place. But maybe it still was believable to me, but frustrating because it felt like the edge of what I could believe Harry was capable of.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, well, all right, I guess. I loved the time travel, but also hated it.
What do you mean?
I think I loved that we got to see other angles on the story we love. So time travel let us do that, and that was very cool. But I do enjoy time travel on some level. But I felt like it was slightly cheap storytelling.
Yeah.
Just because it escalates things in a weird way where then it's kind of playing on Harry Potter fans. You like this story? What about this twist?
Yeah.
So I would just, something about it felt like it was cheaper than just writing new stories. And it was a way of like having the stakes be so high again without having to reintroduce new villains or something. But it was fun to walk down memory lane. But I think
Yeah.
my complaint about time travel in general in all stories, including this one, is just that it cheapens the original story.
Yeah.
And then if we ever went back and we watch, or we're looking in the books, would we ever see evidence of this happening during the parts of the books? Like, because theoretically now, according to canon, they were there in a church in Godric's Hollow during those
Yeah.
events. And so that just sits weird with me.
Yeah.
Because I think it takes away from the original story we like.
I'm with you. I think it cheapens the story. I think it however, does give fans moments. Like, I took this play as not like a collective. I'm like, collectively, I don't think it's canon, but individually, I'm like taking little snippets as canon. So when they're in Godric's Hollow, and it like made me tear up. I was like sitting in my seat, like funny back tears when Voldemort walks down. It was funny because we're in the balcony. When Voldemort walks down the aisle, everyone punches over and looks at him because he's like in the audience.
That's right.
But when Harry's actually able to witness, which is a terrible thing, when Harry
Oh
witnesses
my,
his
yeah.
parents' murder, is one of the most moving scenes in the whole thing. Like, that was fascinating. The time turner moving to Snape and Snape being alive and Snape like realizing what he has to do. And he even says like, tell like your friend that I'm proud that he bears my name or something like that. I'm like, even seeing a moment like that as a fan, I hate what if scenarios. Like, the time turner is full of those. They're just like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? And that's what they were doing, which kind of drove me crazy because one of the circumstances is like Umbridge rises to power and the augury is like there, who comes up later, and Voldemort really is in power. And the whole atmosphere and vibe of that was dark and terrifying and like really scary. But the way they explained it was that Cedric was embarrassed, ended up falling to the dark side, and kills Neville in the battle, which I'm like, that's a lot of I want more like explanation on that. And that was one of the questions that I asked
That-
even in the
I didn't
Discord. I
catch
was like,
that.
would Cedric have fallen from grace if he was just embarrassed in the Triwizard Tournament? And I don't know if that's what he would have done. First of all, because he's a Hufflepuff, and like we got each other's back. But I think that maybe is just a mischaracterization of Cedric to some extent. Although, again, I think this play is rife with the things about like any moment, any character could crack, and they could just have a bad day, and that changes the trajectory of their life.
Wow. Yeah.
Like even this, I think it all rests even with Albus, where he is about like the sorting ceremony. He doesn't want to be in Slytherin. All of a sudden gets put in Slytherin, and that like changes the he becomes like a moody teen from that point on.
Sorting hat was funny.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the time turner though, it is like it excuses all the out of character moments.
Yeah, agreed,
Like,
yeah.
and you just kind of
True.
like reset everything. Cause wasn't his dad always bragging about him?
Yeah.
So like I feel like he kind of was embarrassed all the time anyway. Like I feel like he's used to just being like, oh,
Yeah,
whatever.
seriously, yeah.
And I don't think he's gonna just
He can
go
shrug it off.
murder a classmate later because of that.
Agreed.
Wait, they're saying that he murdered Neville
Yeah. So,
In the
in,
battle.
in the tournament or
no,
after?
in
In
the
the
Battle
final.
of Hogwarts, like Cedric was on a dark path, and then in the Battle of Hogwarts, he
Oh.
murders Neville, and Neville
I
isn't able
missed
to kill
this.
Nagini. So when Harry dies, he dies, and then they
because
like
because
Voldemort rises to
Neville.
power and takes
Yeah,
over
yeah.
Hogwarts.
Whoa.
It was a dark scene, like that whole thing when the
Yep.
intermission broke
I
and then that
know,
came
that
back. That was
was
pretty
nuts.
terrifying.
And I feel like
I was
that.
like, how do you have kids here?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
And if it's 2 nights, you're going home, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
and they
seriously, yeah.
changed the whole theater too. Like
Yeah.
they added flags out in the lobby, so when you're going to the bathroom, they had like Slytherin
I
flags
didn't
up
even
and
realize
stuff.
that. That's cool.
Because at the beginning they had 5 flag posts, but only 4 flags in there for the houses.
I love that.
But then when you go out, they added the 5th one in there for Voldemort's whatever. So
Yeah.
you leave in that dark tone, then you come back, I guess, the next night. And then even the people who worked in the theater, they were saying something. What did they say? Like when we were
Yeah.
taking our seats.
What was the
Voldemort Day? Is
Yeah, it was
that-
like some
Happy
Voldemort
Day.
Yeah.
And where I was like, whoa, yikes.
Or like all hail Voldemort or
Yeah, I was
something,
like,
something
whoa,
like that.
too far, guys.
Yeah. They were all in on the act too, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think the story was a little rushed, and I don't think the story necessarily holds up because I'm with you. I think the time turners do cheapen it a bit, but given that they went down the time turner route, I am kind of glad that we got some of the scenes that we did get,
yeah.
Yeah.
like some of the what if scenarios.
It would have
They're-
been,
they're
yeah, I
kinda
loved
fascinating.
seeing what if Voldemort won
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
and Harry didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That
Well,
was cool to watch play
What's
out.
that show you've mentioned, John? The Marvel one where they do that? It's like also
Yeah, it's
what if.
literally just called what if.
Yeah. I feel like that would be really fun, and
Yeah.
this was a taste of that in the Harry
Agreed,
Potter
yeah.
world.
That'd been cool. If they
I just
did
don't like
that.
it being canon.
I know.
What if
yeah.
they just did that though? Like
I
what?
think they
Then
just
I'd be
should
down.
do that. Yeah,
I'd
I'm
be
with
down.
you.
She
What
didn't
if-
write this though, right?
No,
Joe
she
didn't?
kind of. Okay, so she kind of co-wrote it. She like gave her stamp of approval on it, but another guy wrote it, and he even says himself, he's like, "This is not meant to be read. This is meant to be watched." Which I'm with you. I'm like, I think I probably will read this play, just to read it now and like see what the differences are. But when I was there, I was just mesmerized with everything. Like the plotting kind of still made sense. Like one of the biggest issues that people have in the plotting is there's no way that Voldemort really could have had a child with Bellatrix. And
I was wondering about that too.
the
But then I
explanation
found
that
ways in
I had
my
for
head.
that- yeah, wait, what are the ways in your head that you found out?
Well, the timing for conception would have worked.
Yeah, it
And then
could've.
also, she was at Malfoy Manor. We didn't see it. She even killed Dobby. She would have been very pregnant at that point. And murder while pregnant probably influences the fetus. But then I figured she could easily hide it with a charm. So she could hide her pregnancy for however long. Also, I think hinted at it at some point, but on some level, they are able to take their own bathroom issues and resolve them with a wand. So why not deliver a baby with a wand? So, I just figured
great
there's so
point.
many ways to deliver a baby with
Yeah.
magic that I'm sure she could have done that secretly even.
Yeah.
We always
And
joked
it would've been
about
easy.
it though. like the chemistry.
Yeah, there was like some
Yeah.
sexual chemistry between it,
Between
which is
them.
my explanation for it. I think it can go in two different ways. I don't think it legitimately happened because, I don't think, and most people's gripe with this is they don't think Voldemort would actually be able to do it, which sounds weird, but like first of all, the trust aspect of it, where he wouldn't want to give another person the ability to like know a secret about him. He never really did that. Although he
right.
did do that with some Horcruxes. So I think there's like a slight flaw in that. But even just his ability to like conceive a child just seems so foreign to people. And I think part of me thinks maybe, but the answer that I have is if he would do it to create a Horcrux, like the idea that he creates a child and that is his blood, and then that is like his last living Horcrux. Maybe he saw some of the stuff that Harry was, realized it before the end, and then out of practicality, shacks up with Bellatrix for one weekend to Bellatrix's great delight and has a child.
Right.
Another explanation that I have, which is the more likely explanation, I don't think that actually happened, and I think Bellatrix probably made like she might have had a child on her own with her husband, and she just went touting off that it was Voldemort's child because she had such attraction to him that she was like,
That's
I gotta do
That's
something.
crazy.
So
Yep.
the
Interesting.
the girl, what was her name?
something with a D.
Delphi Diggory, which she wasn't a Diggory, correct?
No, correct.
Like, was she raised in the family at all?
she was just doing
She
that
was-
spell
The Imperious
to
Curse?
make. Yeah.
Yeah.
to
Wait,
make him-
Wait,
isn't
she-
augury in the
oh.
book? What even is that? I don't know what
An
that
augury is an
is.
animal. So that's why like it's in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I
And
know,
it's a
that's
bird
what I
that
was
predicts
like,
death or something like that.
Because she was like, I'm the augury. And then I heard you go, oh. And I was like, I don't know what that word is.
What's
Oh,
this
no.
reveal?
So I said, because before you learn that she's the augury in the timeline where Umbridge is taking over Hogwarts and Voldemort's in power, all of them in like one or two scenes they mention, "Oh, wait till the augury hears this," and I was like,
In
"Oh,
the
wait.
book?
No, in the play itself. Before
So it's not
before
in the
she's
books.
revealed, I don't think so.
Okay.
It might be in like a random spot in the actual original canon book.
Because
but
I
don't
didn't
think it is.
catch that.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So then they were hinting at her existence, but we never got to see
got
her
to see it. And
till
then
we
when
go
she
back to
pops up, she's
prime
the augury,
time,
and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that makes sense. That was kind of interesting. I like how they
But
did
the
that."
other so you're saying that is an animal? What did you say?
It's an animal. It's a bird. So that's why she had like the back tattoo
wing.
of the bird,
Yeah.
which was like a move.
But then I thought it was weird. I'm like, her explanation was that she just wanted to see her dad.
Yeah.
That's why she wanted.
Yeah, she
like,
was doing all this stuff.
I just thought that was.
Wait, sorry. What do you mean her
So
explanation?
she wanted to go back in time to change time so she could just see her dad.
No, not see him. Stop him from killing Harry, so he wouldn't die the first time, and he could rise to power earlier. Although arguably
Oh,
that would
that's what
cause
it
her no
was?
longer to exist.
That's what I was also thinking.
But then it gets again why I hate time travel, because then
Yeah.
you get into the whole time
So many
travel
what
thing
ifs.
of like, then does it create a new branch in the timeline,
exactly, yeah.
or is it just always a cycle?
That's why
and it's a
halfway through all the
circle and
timeline
whatever?
changes, I was like, okay, they're entering a multiverse here,
Yep.
which seemed to me a little bit frustrating. I was like, no, keep it at one universe.
Yep.
There's too many things that you can do. I'm like, I don't like that idea.
But they did end it in the same universe, in the same timeline, according to how modern, Hollywood is treating timelines and time travel, so that they would never have to do more of this.
Yeah.
They could leave it there
Yeah.
and not touch it
That was
again.
it. One and done.
So hopefully, but then again, we've said that before. And this showed us that it wasn't just
feel like
one
there's gonna be another
timekeeper out
play.
there. It was, or time turner. It was two, because it was the
Yeah.
one they confiscated. That was the prototype, and then another one. So if someone made a prototype, they could easily come up with a story where someone else is making another prototype.
Yeah.
So it never truly would have to end. But I hope it does.
I know, same. I also, like I would have been fine if the play was just like, look, this is a what if scenario. Like, don't even talk to me about like time turners and the whole thing. I mean, time turner, the whole thing does rest on time turners, to be completely honest, which I just don't love. I think that's just a shaky point.
But why? They could have done like what if.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Without
saying.
a
Like,
time
they probably
turner.
could have done the whole scenario, like rewrite
Yeah.
it just through a what ifs kind of scenario.
And I think it does. That also cheapens the story in one sense. But then you're just
Why?
well, just because then everything you're watching isn't canon anymore. so there's less at stake. And then when you're watching all the moments,
Real characters.
yeah, but then you end up getting lost in it. And then even as, you know, Wicked is gaining popularity, etc. That was a big thing back then when Wizard of Oz and Babes in Toyland, it was like those movies where it starts where something happens and then everything is a dream from then on. And you kind of realize it or you forget about it. And then by the end of the movie, the person wakes up. You're like, oh yeah, that whole thing was a dream.
Honestly, they could have done that.
It-
Maybe
you know,
they
it
did.
works.
Did someone fall asleep in the beginning? That
Yeah, right.
realized?
He wakes up and he's just a nap. He's 11 years
Yeah.
old on the train to
So
Hogwarts
Yeah,
his
right.
they
first
should,
year.
like Wicked is before Wizard of Oz, so then
Yeah, right,
we're
yeah.
saying we should have had a
Hmm.
play on before Harry was born.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
That
it
would've
just
been
feels
interesting too.
Yeah, honestly, that would be. Yeah, I'm like they could have the whole plotting and play of it. I did think was kind of entertaining when I was there. I was like, it was just fascinating to be in the world again.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was
So
just
fun to be in the world.
Yeah.
and the characters you knew and
Yeah,
the
exactly.
personalities. But then that was like,
and familiar places and
Yeah.
people. I was so surprised. I did not think we were going to see so many characters. I thought it was going to be an isolated story with like one or two crossover characters. So I was happy every time.
Yeah,
It was great.
same. It was so fun to see. Yeah, even like McGonagall, it was so fun to see
Oh,
her.
yeah.
Hermione.
Moaning Myrtle was so
Oh
good.
my
I
gosh.
loved her.
That was really
She
funny.
was
That was
really
so
good,
over the
actually.
top. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa.
She has
This is
the
most
perfect voice.
Subtle, yeah. I know.
Yep.
That was,
And then her comments that were like,
Yep.
they were all rife. They were all just loaded with sexual.
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
took
what
whatever
is
was there in
this?
the movies and blasted it to 10 because it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is a lot.
Yeah.
it was
It
funny.
was like for the
though.
last like what would it be like 10 years she was just storing up all that pent up sexual frustration and putting it all into
So
one
funny.
scene. She was so funny though. That was great. That was a great scene. It was anytime like a new or a character an old character popped up, it was just fun to see them. Like
Yeah.
even when Umbridge was coming out, I was just like, oh, who is this? What's going on? And then they were like, oh, hello, Headmaster Umbridge. I was like, wow, that's
No.
crazy.
Yeah, that was
It
great.
was just like fun to see those characters.
Yeah, it really was.
I have to say, some of them, like what they did with some of them was really interesting. Like there was some that I didn't love, like what they did with Harry or Neville. But I think what they did with Draco was maybe one of my favorite parts of the whole play.
In
Like,
what way?
Because he just seemed overwhelmed with grief that his wife had passed away. And I'm like, they made him very human and made him very like, they gave him a good amount of depth that I think the Malfoys did have in the books, but like they fleshed it out a bit more. And Scorpius kind of like softens him up a little bit. I love in the end when they're all hugging and Draco's like, we can hug too if you'd like. Like,
Yeah,
embrace each other.
that's good.
Like it was so cute. Like him and Scorpius, like even though his Scorpius is so different from him, he just is trying to shed this old moniker of who he is. And like the rumors that have swirled about his son. And he's so overwhelmed with grief about his dead wife. And he just wants to connect with his son and he's struggling to do that. So I love that he was like fighting tooth and nail. I love that their battle with him and Harry was based on Draco thinking that they should be friends and Harry not thinking they should be friends. Seems like a weird thing for Harry to do.
Yep.
But I'm like, I love that Draco is actually fighting for his son to have Harry Potter's son as a friend. That's so cool. to
It's
me.
so weird. It's
Yeah.
great.
It's like a cool moment of redemption, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
I like Scorpius as the comedic relief, like you were saying before, because then he's totally like against all of the Malfoy stereotypes. And
yeah.
like that to me was really fun because I
Agreed.
felt like, oh, he's a Malfoy, like he's not gonna be great. But then he was just genuinely like a really nice person. And then
Yeah.
the fact that kind of came from like the Potter side.
Yeah,
of, like you
seriously, yeah.
can't be friends.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
It was such
You
a good,
should.
like, they did so good on that, I thought. Even in the beginning, when you just meet Scorpius, he's like cracking jokes about like him being the cursed child. And I was
Yeah.
like, he just seems like a
Yeah.
great kid. He seems like a fun kid. What were your favorite parts? And then we'll kind of do like the wrap ups. What were your favorite parts? Who was your hot tamale and who was your favorite character? And then we'll rate it out of 10. the few parts at the end that kind of got me more emotional were like some of the best parts. Like Harry watching his parents sacrifice their lives, even though like that really shouldn't happen. It was an interesting decision that they made Harry that they gave Harry the opportunity to watch it, and he wanted to watch that.
But we didn't have to watch it, which was also nice.
Yeah, seriously.
They're facing the audience, and we're just seeing lighting.
Brilliant
and
idea,
green,
yeah.
And so it's like we're still focused on the characters, not the death and their response to it. So yeah, that was definitely emotional. All those scenes in the church were pretty epic.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved when they were doing any changing, when Polyjuice or the Transfiguration.
That was
Great effects, too.
crazy.
That was cool.
But
So
like, what
those scenes
in the
were
world?
some of my favorites.
For anyone who didn't see it, it was like you're watching someone transform
don't
in
know
front of
how
your
they
eyes,
did
and then they're literally a different person. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So then afterwards, I'm like thinking, so I guess underneath their robes, someone must have come up from under the
Yeah.
stage,
I know.
and then
No, but
they
then
duck
I
their
was
heads
looking at
into
the
the
stage
robe,
and I was
then
like, okay,
someone
there's
else
a
sticks it
square
out.
there, there's a square there, and then they didn't stand on the square.
Well, right. So I'm
and
like,
then I was like, wait, now this is throwing me
Yeah.
so
It's
far
magic.
off because I
And
was tracking and then I wasn't.
we had that balcony view, so like we can kind of see what's going on. I'm like, nobody's sneaking up behind them. This is
Wait.
like,
No, I was
Also-
waiting for like when we could see something from our
Yep.
angle, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonna ruin something," but it really
Nothing.
didn't.
no,
Wow.
it was incredible.
We also did address Dumbledore in the portrait. It was so awesome.
Yeah,
Mm.
that
I
was
loved
great.
the way that they portrayed that on the stage. Like it looked like he actually
Was in a
Yeah.
portrait.
was in a portrait.
Yeah,
That was a great.
That was
it's a good point. I kind of forgot about that.
And-
that was one of my top like
Yeah, I'm with you.
scenes because I was like, how are they gonna do this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it literally looks like
Yeah.
he's in the portrait giving advice like Dumbledore would,
Yep.
and it was cool to have his perspective on things too.
And even from our perspective, it still looks so
I
cool. Like we were
know.
above the stage.
Yeah.
And like we're looking down, and he still looks like he's in the portrait.
It was the
wild.
lighting on
Yeah.
it too, like it was done.
And they had the one
Great.
that I think the first one too. Like
The first
he was
one
in the portrait, but like you
decent.
couldn't see his legs. But
But
like
the second one by the
blew my
bed,
mind.
oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
that was my favorite. I can still picture it. It
Yeah.
was great.
they
Yeah,
did,
it was-
and I love the dialogue that Harry had with Dumbledore too.
Yeah.
like they're still
Yeah.
like Harry's still hurt. He's still like trying to let off some like steam, like
Mm.
these burdens that like Dumbledore really should have been a father to him, and he kind of wasn't, and he struggled with that. And I love that Harry's still wrestling with some of those things.
One character we were missing that we were kind of loved was Hagrid.
I know. I was shocked about that.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you two were always talking about him,
Yeah.
and then I just thought of it. I was like, wait, he wasn't a part of it.
Because even in the
Oh, yeah, that's so weird.
playbill, it's like listed the characters that you should reacquaint yourself with, and Hagrid's in there. So I thought for sure he was going to pop up, but he just doesn't.
We didn't have time to read that.
Yeah.
I was bummed that we didn't get him.
Journey to the 8th story.
Oh, that's cool. I like that they had that.
I like the Patronus a lot.
Oh,
too.
that was
so
great.
good.
Fire.
I just wish it was bigger.
Yeah,
Should have been more than
I
just
know,
that.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, the whole
but
thing.
it was very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was really cool.
I was waiting for always.
yeah. They
And
did it a few
didn't
times.
Say it. They said it.
Yeah, there was one scene where they did
missed
say it. And I did kind of miss that. But speaking of the Patronus, I don't know technically how this is done, and I don't. Yeah. So do you remember in the books when, I think it's the Patronus. I might be wrong about this. When Snape, where's the scene in the books when Snape is talking? I forgot who he's talking to, but he seems like the Patronus isn't the only way to do things. Like, isn't the only way to ward off a Dementor.
Like there's another. Oh, interesting.
Was it that, or was it occlumency?
Ooh.
I don't know what you're referring to exactly.
So, oh man, this is gonna drive me crazy. I think it was a Patronus.
Yeah, because he was. Was he talking to Harry?
I think
I
so.
don't. Yeah, and then he was saying like, oh, there's other ways, like, because he was trying to hide his Patronus from everyone at that point, but.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like, oh, I wonder if he just thinks like so many sad thoughts that
Yeah,
like
seriously, yeah.
he can't find.
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly,
But
yeah.
that was not
Right.
correct. But yeah,
because
Because were you waiting for like the other
yes,
Patronus thing to come out?
I was waiting
Yeah.
for how Snape. I think it was a Patronus. I should have reacquainted myself for the podcast, but that's why it was interesting in the play. There was one thing that Snape said to Scorpius or Albus or one of them, and I loved it because it seemed to answer that question, which was like, "Who are you fighting for?"
Yeah.
And I loved it because I'm like,
Oh yeah,
is that
yeah,
the way
yeah.
that Snape wards off the Dementors? I think it has to do with the Dementors. I think
That
it
is
was
a
like
great point.
Snape doesn't use Patronuses to ward off Dementors.
Yeah.
And this seemed to answer that because even though they did use the Patronus in the play, it was like, who are you fighting for? Seems like a strong response if you keep that in your mind and I don't know, maybe do some kind of incantation.
Oh, when they
a
were in the
Dementor
field
can't touch
with
you.
the Dementors. Okay.
Yep.
'Cause
Because it's another
Sirius-
kind of love element.
Exactly.
Of like, yeah.
Because Sirius knew what he was fighting for and knew who he was fighting for when he was in prison, and the Dementors couldn't really get to him,
Right.
even though he didn't have the Patronus. So I thought that was a great little addition. I really want to I'm gonna reread the whole series and then go back and watch this play again and then figure out if that's actually what they were talking about.
That works for Snape though because he has Lily that he's always fighting
Yes.
for. But I feel like there's so many people that have no
Yeah,
specific person.
which is why they need happy memories.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a cheaper form of that. I
I
kind of
wonder
like
how he
Snape's way
found
more.
that out.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of fascinating. I like that. But yeah, the Patronus was a really cool part of the play too. An emotional part too. I think one of my favorite parts was when they realized that she was like crazy.
The
And they
lights.
they
I know. I was just thinking that.
Wait,
like did all
The
the black
neon.
light
The
on
black-
the wall.
oh,
The neon light.
yeah,
and
yeah,
the
nice.
cedar
Sweet.
is just illuminated and like
That
That
was
was
cool.
one of my favorites.
that was so crazy.
So these are favorite
Yep.
moments, right?
Yeah, favorite moments. Yeah.
and I was thinking, I'm like, man, I've been to enough Broadway things, and they never redo the carpet and the wallpaper in a theater.
Yeah.
They just like a show's in for a little whatever.
Yeah.
And then all the carpet and wallpaper was redone for the show, and then
Yeah.
you see why, because it's all written
It was
all
cool.
over. It was so cool. Great
You
effect. They had
noticed that it was redone.
well, it had the H's of Hogwarts and wands and stuff. So then I was like, oh, that's like cool. It was
I
like
didn't
theming.
even
I even
I
took a
think they
picture
did it
of
with,
the carpet
with the
but
expectation this play is going to go on for
for a long
decades.
time.
Yeah.
And it likely will.
Yeah.
The little lights were phoenixes too. I don't know if you saw that. I
was a good
noticed
catch.
I don't
that.
think I did. Wait, which one's the little lights?
like
Like
little
all
gargoyle
around
things.
the
Oh,
front of the
that's
balcony.
cool.
They were
all
what?
Phoenixes.
Man, they put in the
Yeah.
work.
They really did put in the work. They did great.
Yeah, it showed.
Any other favorite parts?
I feel like I'm thinking from the theater perspective of just the effects, like when they were on the top of the train.
Yeah, that's
great
kinda cool, yeah.
effect. There were just so many cool effects that's distracting me from the story.
Yeah.
But the characters are great.
Who's your favorite character? Let's do hot tamale and favorite character.
I honestly really enjoyed Hermione. Like way more
Yeah.
than I did in the
I
books.
thought she was
think.
great.
Yep.
I don't know. I just really liked Hermione.
Favorite character or hot tamale?
Favorite character.
Okay. Wow, I love that.
Yeah. Say Myrtle's.
Yeah, Myrtle was a wet tamale.
yeah, that's a good one.
I'm gonna give Ginny my hot tamale because I think she finally deserved it.
Yeah, that's a
She
good
was
one.
hot
Yes.
tamale energy. She was great.
Nice.
And then weirdly, I think my favorite is Draco. Draco or Scorpius. I thought they were great
Yeah.
in the play. I loved them.
Scorpius was just entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scorpius is going to be my favorite character. Yeah, I just liked him the most. I
Yeah.
wish it could be Albus, but he bothered me a little bit
Yeah,
too
Albus was annoying. Yeah.
Just like Harry said.
much.
Yeah. Legit. Yeah.
I
And
don't
also,
know.
why
I'm
would they
trying to
mess
pick
with
someone.
time?
I
Have they
know.
learned nothing from the stories?
I
Goodness
know, for
gracious.
real.
Okay.
Wes, that
Well,
is
maybe
very
my
loud.
favorite is Dumbledore in the
Rabbit.
portrait, just 'cause to be
Just put
different.
peanut butter into it. Dumbledore?
Just to be different, because I kind of agree with everyone, but I'm like, maybe
Sorry, you should have went
Dumbledore
first.
in the portrait.
Honestly, he was great too.
That was, and I just thought it was a neat, wow, magic. I just like that he I don't know, just being in the portrait, like his character in the
Yeah.
portrait was just great.
Yeah.
It was that bit of like magic that they did on stage was so cool. I was blown away. Which is why, again, I think this is definitely something that you have to see rather than just read. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm going to read this in the next few months, and I'm sure I'm going to read it and be so frustrated by some of the things in here.
Hmm.
But as far as like a play, it was so entertaining. I went in with super low expectations and came out pretty blown away by how good it was. And I knew all like the problems going in beforehand, and I was still pretty blown away.
I even
So-
thought like the Diggory girl, like that was a nice spin. I don't think I was
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then she's flirting with Harry, so then you're like, oh, it's gonna be like a romance,
Yeah,
or
right?
not Harry. What's his name?
Albus.
They look so much alike. Albus.
Yeah.
Which
Harry
in the beginning when they
2.0.
showed her, I was like, "Is this like the long lost sister of Cedric? Like, who is
That's what
this?
I thought,
Niece?
too,
They
and I
said,
was
they
like,
said niece. I'm like,
happened?
we never really got introduced to her. So like there was always suspicion, and then that's what we were talking about during the intermission. We were like, did
Was she in the book?
did Delphi ever come up like in a random subchapter? Which is funny because in the next section when it was like she wasn't really, she was like, you know, using the Imperious
I
curse
know,
and
but
like
like that's what
transfixing.
was
Yeah, it
neat.
was great. It was so cool.
She's my hot tamale, maybe.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it was good.
She's hanging from the
Yeah,
ceiling
it was pretty sick.
in like a winged vest. It was pretty cool.
I mean, it was cool. Fair enough.
I didn't like her character, but she had the
Yeah.
energy, you know?
Yeah,
She did have the energy.
The Dementors were hanging from the
Oh,
ceiling
that,
too.
they
That-
had, actually,
yeah.
they could
Actually,
be
that was
hot
probably my
tamales.
favorite part.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
That was
Yeah.
probably my favorite part. That was
That was
so
good.
terrifying and loud. My ears were ringing
Oh
after
my
that.
gosh,
Yeah.
I had
It
to
was
cover
so
my
cool.
ears. It was bad.
So I'm gonna give this a 8.7 out of 10.
Whoa.
I thought it was great.
No rookie scores here. 8 point.
You should have had Danny go first. He would have lowered all of ours.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna definitely say 8 something.
You were.
But I was just gonna say a solid 8.
Okay.
But now I'm just thinking, was it high enough in the 8s? Because I would have rounded up to 9 maybe, but I was gonna say like an 8.2. And when we went to a Friendsgiving right afterwards, so I said anyone, because they asked, and I said, if anyone enjoys Broadway theater and they know the Harry Potter story, they'll love the show.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
But if you didn't know the Harry Potter story, it would be
You're
a
gonna get
little
confused.
bit confusing.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think anyone would still enjoy it. Like it'd be a 6 for anybody, even if you don't like Broadway or even if you don't like Harry Potter, you could still enjoy the show. But if you love theater and Harry Potter,
Yeah,
definitely
it's a good combo.
8 something.
Agreed.
But what do you guys think?
Well, I wanted to break up the first and second act because the first act I thought was like a 6. But then the second act I
Interesting,
felt
yeah.
like was higher. Like a 7.5. An
Ooh,
8.
wow. Jen's being the critic over
Yeah,
here. I
well,
like it.
my
Well,
goodness.
because I'm
thought-
comparing it to like a Wicked or
Yeah, for
like
sure.
other Broadway plays, which if you're gonna compare it to other shows, like
Yeah.
you just
I was
said.
too, and that's why it gets an 8.2.
Well, I guess I like different.
I think there's definitely
I-
better on Broadway.
Yeah.
But just
I
coming
think
from a
there were
Harry
just
Potter
weird pauses. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like the whole
Yeah.
show was like fluid.
Yeah. Whereas Wicked,
okay.
every you're kind of like gripped everything that happens in
Yeah,
Wicked.
like
It's
Right.
one
literally
thing moves to the
ev-
next.
It's like
great-
there's
yeah.
no pause of you
Yeah.
waiting. So that's the one thing that I didn't like about it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
actually.
Because
Yeah.
if they were singing during it, even though that'd be weird, I feel like it would be entertaining. Like it would just grip you
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
you just watching these staircases move. But
Yeah.
maybe I just because
Yeah,
it
I'm
felt
with you.
like so long. It was like 10 minutes. It felt like of them
That's
walking
funny.
up and down the stairs and
I
them
was
moving.
clearly more gripped by it than you. I was like, it was like 30 seconds. I'm like, this is cool.
I thought I was like, how many times are they gonna go up and down these stairs?
That's funny.
So, but I thought yes, I thought it was very entertaining. I love the magic. I would see it again with other friends
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. You would see with us again? Come on.
Yes, not with you guys,
other
obviously, but
I give it an 8.5.
Wow, I am.
Ooh, wow.
Because I feel like you liked it more than me, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say 8.7 because you already said 8.7.
Wow.
But
I'll
I
say
think
8.9 so you can say 8.7.
8.5 feels good. I'm gonna give it that.
yeah, that's fair.
Solid 8.5.
Wow, I gave
Yeah.
it really bad then. compared
Jen's
to
a
you guys.
Broadway
You
critic.
said
over here.
Well, yeah, I was
between
gonna say.
6 and 7.5.
a 6 for the first act. I thought it was too fast and like.
But she liked the second
So
act,
it-
and that was still a 7.5. So it averages out to a high 6. And that's not great.
an 8.
6.75.
Maybe an 8.
And you're saying first and second, meaning like before intermission and after intermission.
Except I don't really know like where intermission was. I can't remember it.
Okay,
but I
yeah,
just
yeah.
really hated the beginning.
Right, and that's what
maybe
you're
it was
saying,
like
yeah.
the first
Yeah.
half hour. I did not like.
Because Jen was expecting
the
singing
setup.
for the whole thing. She's like, when
Yep.
is the singing going?
No, just like I don't know.
I'm with you. Actually.
I think that's what really threw it for
Like
me.
it slowly ramped up rather than
Yeah.
like they didn't. And even
And I
if you
wish
slowly
it
ramp up, you
just
need to build up the characters better.
stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. Or it like was great from the beginning with like the
Yeah.
scenery or in the pacing.
Mhm.
But that's why now I'm curious what it would have been like if it was the
yeah, 2 days.
day one. Because then maybe it would have made more sense and I would have liked it more.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But yeah, I did see other plays that I liked more. So.
Right. And that does make a difference.
That-
Now we're gonna
What
do
you're
Broadway
comparing
plays
to.
in the first time watchers. Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Nice.
We're gonna really
I'll
be
get
bleeding
my
out our
list
lives.
for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Do I remember any of them? No.
Jen's gonna be the host of that podcast. I like it.
Nice.
Annie, Get Your Gun. I love that
Ooh.
one.
Never seen that one.
It's
I
not on
don't know.
Broadway anymore.
Check it out.
I watched it as a child, but it's stuck. Like
It's
literally, I don't know.
Whoa.
I need to find it somewhere to relearn it.
All right. Well, that concludes our Harry Potter discussion. We'll see you next time.
On the next event.
Yeah.
Whatever we have going
Oh,
on.
also, we never watched Fantastic Beasts, so we got to do that.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
some
You guys
point.
got to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta. Yeah, I'm down. We'll do a Fantastic Beasts movie night. Have you ever seen them?
Nope.
They're great. They're great.
Oh,
We'll,
nice.
We'll do that. We'll do some breakdowns of those movies. It'll be
That'll
fun.
be good.